Brought to you by Alman Auctions, the worldwide leader in antique tractor auctions.
One look at Steve Guider's collection and it's easy to see what kind of tractors he prefers.
Case and Colt, that's my thing.
But one of the highlights of his collection doesn't come in the usual colors associated with those brands. This 1972 Case 442 Black Knight stands out because of its lack of color. These machines were used by dealers as demonstrators and were no different than any other production tractor of the same model, except for the paint scheme and the decals. It was hoped the unusual color would help to improve sales.
They gave the Case dealers these tractors for demonstrators to take out and mow their lawn with, and they made them from the little, very little 107s up through the big four-wheel drive tractors, all used as demonstrators. Why they did it, I suppose there's a marketing thing there somehow, but eye-catching, because everything else is desert sunset or orange, and these black ones stand out, and there was very few of them made, and makes them very collectible. I have a 107, that was the littlest one they made. A 118, that was a hydrostatic. A 444 would be a tractor like this, only with a 14-horse engine. This has a 12-horse, the 442 meaning 12-horse. 444 had 14-horse. The 446 then had a 16-horse twin-cylinder Onan engine on it. Basically the same tractor with different size engine. 442 is really the scarce one of the bunch. Well, the Case collectors only know of 4 or 5 of them. I find that a lot of people look at it, but they don't know what they're looking at. Yeah, it's black, it's pretty, but they don't understand that this is a very rare tractor.
The story of how Steve got the 442 is just as unusual as the paint scheme. It turns out a feature in the Lawn and Garden Collector's Magazine on the other Black Knight demonstrators in Steve's collection caught the eye of a guy all the way across the country.
Every tractor has its own story. This one is pretty unique. And a fella by the name of Sam Cover in California drives a log truck. Calls me one day, "Steve, how would you like to have the one you're missing, the 442? And I said, "I would. I'd love to." He said, "I have one and it's for sale." So along about Thanksgiving time, he called and he said he had a guy coming in a pickup truck. $200, he would put it in the back of the pickup. So just before Christmas, they called me and said, "Your tractor's down here in Greenville, you can come and get it anytime." Some guy in California sees the picture and says, "He needs this 442. And you know, what's the chances? What's the chances? And then getting it here without driving to California was a great big plus too. So that's how I came to get this tractor, and it was pretty bad shape. Steering wheel was broke, the front axle was bent, you know, the sheet metal was really bad. And what we've decided, the Case collectors, is to save the old sheet metal to authenticate the tractor and take likely the same kind of hood and fenders and redo them and put them on there and keep the old so they're not put off as a copy. I love saving this stuff. I got a bunch of old ones up there. You don't part them out unless you have to. Try to save them. If you do the engine and the rear ends, these rear ends last forever. They're about, you can't hardly tear them up. And yeah, they're just as good as they were new.
Steve is known as one of the country's top collectors of Case lawn and garden tractors. Several years ago, he expanded to include Colt tractors. Since then, he's found some rare gems like this 1966 2712.
A few years ago, I didn't know nothing about a Colt until I ran into them and studied them, and, you know, read up on them and learned a lot about them by taking them apart and everything. So most people say, "Never seen one of them before. Where'd you get that thing at?" You know, because it's unusual. But it belongs to the Case organization, really. You know, when you have Case featured tractor-wise, that's where it belongs.
Colt may have only been around for a brief time, but it had a remarkable impact on lawn and garden tractors thanks to its revolutionary hydraulic drive system. That system is what led Case to buy out Colt when they were looking to enter the lawn and garden business.
Johnson Brothers developed this hydraulic drive system up in Wisconsin, and they built tractors for 2 years, and then Case was looking to get in the garden tractor business. So they bought them out in late '64 and built both tractors for 2 years. Colt built them for 2 years, and then Case built Colt for 2 years, and also their Case garden tractors. And then they dropped them. So, and every year the Colts were made, they were all different. They were different color, different looking. So it makes them rare in that they was only produced 1 year.
Steve didn't have to go too far to find this Colt. He met a man at a Case show in Findlay, Ohio, and was surprised to learn this gem was almost in his own backyard.
And the fella come in there that I'd growed up not too far from, didn't really know him. So, and he had a 446 and he had this one. He said, can't get either one of them to run. He kind of wanted to know if I was interested in them. So I ended up buying an 18-foot trailer full of implements, 2 tractors and so forth. And it was a good deal for me. I really didn't do much to this tractor other than take it clear down, sandblast it, paint it. Mechanically it was good. I put a coil on it because it didn't want to run, and because it's got a magneto on it. So just bypass the magneto, put a coil and a set of points in it, and it runs perfect.
And check out that tiller on the back. It's a classic as well. Built in the same year as the tractor, and still it has the original hydraulic lines.
Now them tillers were hydraulic driven that run either direction, really do a good job. This one has the flow control on it so you can slow it way down, make the tiller do the work. A tiller wants to shove a tractor forward, and this thing will slow the oil down so it'll only go so fast. It holds it back. It makes that tiller work. If you don't have that on there, you got to keep pulling back on this lever to hold the tractor back to make the tiller do its job. And with that flow control, back in those days, that's really high-tech stuff. It works good.
Steve is one of many collectors with a passion for lawn and garden tractors. He says classic tractor fever is just as contagious, even in smaller packages.
I've had lots of old fellas tell me they have just as much fun with one of these they did a big tractor, and a whole lot easier to handle. Love what I do. It's been a great hobby. I retired 10 years ago and been doing this, and can't imagine not doing it, because I can't sit and watch TV, and I love what I do. Really don't think there's no cure for it. Just enjoy it while we can. Save them for the next generation.